Hi, so my name is Yasmin and I am a tutor here at Tutor Impact. And today we are going to be talking all about sharks. Now, the more astute of you will notice that I've actually got fish in the background of this first slide. And that is just to make the point that sharks are actually part of the fish family. So they are actually members of the fish family rather than a separate family in their own right. So they're not actually mammals, they're fish. And that was just sort of a brief message I wanted to get across from the outset of this video. Now, we're going to be discussing about 10 of the most common and most well-known shark species types today, and I'm going to tell you a bit about each one. So we're going to start with one of my favorite ones, which is the whale shark. I think it's really easy to recognize from its markings, and also because it's the largest shark species, and it's also the largest fish in the whole world. So it's not only the largest shark, but it's also the largest fish species in the entire world. And as you'll remember at the start, we said that that sharks were part of the fish family. So this is the biggest fish species in the world. And this is because the whale shark can grow to 65 feet in length, and it can weigh up to 75,000 pounds. So it can get very, very large. And this is where it gets its name from. Obviously, it is not a type of whale, but because of its size, it could be a small whale. So it's called the whale shark for that reason. And you can see that sort of size here in this photo. There's a person swimming next to it, a fully grown adult, and that person is obviously much, much smaller than this whale shark, which isn't even a big whale shark in comparison to the sizes that some of them can reach. So whale sharks are very, very big. Now, as you can see, their backs are grey, blue or brown in colour, and they're covered with regularly arranged light spots. So it gives this really nice pattern that is very recognisable on the back of this shark. And they're also found in warm waters. So whale sharks are found where the water is warmer, in areas like the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Oceans. So you wouldn't see them swimming up near the United Kingdom really, because the water there is much colder, and you wouldn't see them at the different poles, the North and South Pole, because it's just too cold for them and they prefer much warmer waters. You'll also see in this diagram that the diver here is wearing some wetsuit bottoms that actually have the markings of the whale shark on. And because of this unique and very distinctive pattern, some divers use this to sort of camouflage into the ocean, so it's less easy for different animals to spot them. So as I said, it's quite a unique pattern. Another thing about whale sharks is, despite their huge size, whale sharks actually feed on some of the smallest creatures in the ocean, which I think is quite ironic because of their huge size. So whale sharks actually eat a lot of crustaceans and plankton. And if you know anything about plankton, for instance, plankton is very, very small compared to some other sharks which eat much bigger fish, seals. These massive whale sharks, they eat very small prey, which I find quite funny considering their massive size. Now, the next shark we're going to be looking at is the basking shark. The basking shark. So the basking shark, again, is very identifiable because of its massive mouth. They're actually the second largest type of shark. Sorry, my slides are playing up. So yeah, the basking sharks are the second largest type of shark species, and they can grow up to 40 feet long and weigh up to 7 tons. Obviously, this is not as big as the whale sharks, but it's still very large in comparison to other sea animals and other aquatic animals. Like whale sharks, they also feed on very small plankton, and may often be seen basking at the ocean surface, which is where they feed slowly by swimming forward with their mouth opening, and they filter that water through their mouths and out of their gills, and prey is trapped in the gill rakers. So that is how they get their food source. They swim along like a massive sieve, and they capture the different plankton that they need to eat in their mouth. Basking sharks can actually be found in all of the world's oceans, but they are more common in temperate waters. And they also migrate by quite a long way in winter. So when it's colder, they migrate to warmer locations. The next shark we're going to be looking at is much smaller, and this is the Mako shark. So the Mako shark, also known as the short fin Mako shark, are thought to be the fastest shark species out of all of the different types of sharks. These sharks can grow to a length of about 13 feet. So again, much smaller than the sharks we've looked at previously, the basking shark and the whale shark. They have a light underside and sort of bluish coloration on their back. And they're found in the open ocean. So not near the shores, much more in the open ocean, in temperate and tropical waters in places such as the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. But they can also be seen in the Mediterranean Sea, which is obviously much closer to the United Kingdom in Europe. So yeah, they're thought to be the fastest shark, and speeds have been recorded up to 80 miles per hour. So they are very, very quick. If you picture a car driving at 60 miles per hour, that the Mako shark can reach those speeds quite easily. So they're very, very quick sharks. And they've often been known to sort of outspeed speedboats and other sort of equipment that's been used to monitor their speeds. The next shark we're going to be looking at is the bull shark. You'll probably think, if you know about the great white shark, you'll probably think that this shark looks quite similar to that one, which we'll discuss later on. But bull sharks have the dubious distinction, again, like the great white, of being one of the top 3 species implicated in unprovoked shark attacks on humans. So there's quite a lot of stigma that these sort of sharks are the ones that attack humans. Obviously, in general, sharks don't actually attack that many humans, but films such as Jaws have made that a much more common misconception than might be the case. But these sharks are one of the top 3 sharks that are involved in unprovoked shark attacks on humans. They're quite large sharks, and they have this blunt snout and a grey back and a light underside. And these can grow to about 11.5 feet and weigh about 500 pounds. So not quite on the scale of the whale shark we just spoke about earlier, but still they can get quite big. Like the other sharks we discussed, they also tend to frequent sort of warm waters. However, these sharks swim in much more shallow waters and often murky waters close to the shore. So in contrast to the Mako shark, which you find in the open ocean, the bull shark is much more frequently found closer to the shore where the water is more shallow. The next shark we're going to be looking at is the thresher shark. Again, a much smaller shark. There are actually 3 types of thresher shark. We have the common thresher, the pelagic thresher, and the big eye thresher. So there's 3 different types of these sharks. And they all have big eyes, small mouths, and this long whip-like upper tail that you can see in this photo. This is obviously a very distinguishing feature for the thresher shark, and it makes it very easy to sort of work out what shark species you're looking at. And this tail is actually used to stun prey. So it's used to like hide and stun the prey as it catches it. So again, as I said, it's probably one of the most defining features of this shark. The next shark we're going to be looking at is the tiger shark. So the tiger shark gets its name obviously from its markings being similar to that of a tiger. It has a darker stripe on its side, especially in younger sharks, and this is sort of where it gets its name from. These are also quite large sharks, and they can grow over 18 foot long and weigh up to 2,000 pounds. So they are getting much bigger in terms of the scale we've looked at so far. And although diving with tiger sharks is an activity that people like to engage with, tiger sharks are also one of the most likely sharks to attack humans. As I said before, this isn't a common occurrence, but of the few occasions where shark attacks have happened, it's often the tiger shark that is responsible for this attack. And I think it's probably one of the most common shark species to be involved in this sort of attack. The next shark we'll be looking at is the white shark, which is most famously known as the great white shark. So the white shark and the great white shark are the same type. These are actually probably the most well-known and feared sharks in the ocean, but this is really, as I said before, thanks to the film Jaws. which obviously featured a great white shark. So there's been a lot of stigma and misconception about this particular shark. And as I said, quite a lot of people are scared when you mention the name great white, whereas I feel like tiger sharks, they're not as well known for sort of attacking humans, whereas it's obviously often the great white sharks that are to blame for this sort of attack. The maximum size has been estimated at about 20 feet long, and they can weigh more than 4,000 pounds. So again, it's quite a big shark we're looking at here. Despite its sort of fierce reputation, its scary reputation, the great white shark actually has quite a curious nature. So it prefers to investigate its prey before eating it, which may come as a bit of reassurance for you. They may release the prey if they find it unpalatable. So it's been common occurrence that great whites may bite a human, but then they will let go and will not go on to kill it because they realize that that's not their particular prey that they are after. So although you might get bitten by one of these sharks, hopefully it will not go on to do anything further with you, because it often is just sort of biting you to find out what it is, what the prey in front of it is, rather than trying to bite to kill. The next shark we'll be looking at is the hammerhead shark. So this again has a very defining feature, being that it has the very recognizable sort of head at the front. There are several species of this type of shark. These include the wing head, the mallet head, the scalloped hammerhead, the scoop head, the great hammerhead, and the bonnet head sharks. All of these have the sort of distinctive feature of their oddly shaped head. But the perk of this is that it gives these sharks a really wide visual range, which aids their hunting, because as you can see from the photo here, their eyes are on the outside of this sort of wide head, which means that they have a very sort of wide vision, and they can see all around them. These sharks, as with quite a few of the other ones we've discussed so far, they tend to inhabit tropical and warm temperate oceans around the world. So they prefer the sort of areas where it's warmer as opposed to the colder areas, either north or south. So that is the hammerhead. The next shark we'll be looking at is the nurse shark. So as you can see from the photo here, it is quite a different looking shark to the sort of ones we've looked at before. These sharks are actually a nocturnal species. If you don't know what nocturnal means, this is sort of an animal behavior which is characterized by being active during the night and sleeping during the day. So these sharks often are awake in the evenings or the nighttime, and then they're resting during the daytime. They prefer, I think for this reason, they prefer to live on the ocean bottom, and they often seek shelter in caves and crevices. So they're much more of a elusive shark to find. They're much more hidden out of sight, and they come out mainly when it is dark. They're found in the Atlantic Ocean, from Rhode Island to Brazil, and off the coast of Africa. They're also seen in the Pacific Ocean, and they're found from Mexico to Peru. So in sort of sporadic places across the globe. Now, the last shark we're going to be looking at today is the black tip reef shark. So you can see from this photo, it clearly gets its name from the black tip on its back, on its fin. And that is how they're most commonly identified, by this black tip on their fin. These sharks are much smaller again than the ones we've looked at so far. They grow to a maximum length of, I think it's 6 foot, but they're usually between about 3 and 4 feet long, so comparatively quite small compared to the other sharks we've looked at in this PowerPoint. They're also found in the warm, shallow waters, and they're found in reefs in the Pacific Ocean, including places such as just off Hawaii and Australia, and they're also found in the Indo-Pacific and the Mediterranean Sea. Now, that was the last shark we will be looking at today. I hope that you have found this PowerPoint, this introductory lesson on sharks useful. As I said, these are just 10 types of this type of sharks. There's over 400 different species of sharks, so there is much more than just these 10. But these are the most commonly seen ones. These are the most well-known ones. And I personally think these are 10 of the most interesting sharks out there, particularly the ones with unique sort of features like the thresher shark, the hammerhead shark, and the tiger shark with its unique pattern, and of course the whale shark, which I also personally like, which has the lovely spots on its back. But yeah, there's a lot more sharks out there and there's a lot more to learn. So I'd really recommend, if you found it interesting, to do much more reading on it. And I hope you found this sort of brief insight into this sort of species useful. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.